What's going on YouTube, and welcome to Digital Perspective. And in today's video I'm going to show you how to set up some great icon grids and key lines so that when you are designing your own icon sets that you actually have some sort of consistency and guide for yourself to use. Now if you're ready, let's just roll the intro. What's going on YouTube? I'm Khalid, and in today's video, like I said, I'm going to show you exactly how I personally would create the icon grids that you probably would have seen on the internet, which helps you essentially design or better design your icon sets. Now let's head over to the computer and I'm going to show you how I do this in Illustrator. So you can see here, I'm going to show you from complete scratch. You can see a blank canvas on Adobe Illustrator. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the new canvas. I like to set my icon sizes up to 24 pixels by 24 pixels, and that's just because it's a nice even number, and obviously it makes things easier when I'm doing it by 1 pixel strokes, right? So I'm going to click 24 by 24, click create, and then once my document's actually loaded up, the first thing I want to do, and it's very important, is I want to go to view, show grids, and then go back to view, and then turn snap to pixel off and snap to grid off for now. Right now, your grid system may or may not look like this, but if it doesn't, don't worry, I'm going to show you how to fix that right now. So click on edit, go to preferences, go to guides and grids. Now if your document sizes is 24 by 24 pixels, then go ahead and put 24 here and 24 there. If not, let's say you're working at 512 by 512, 36 by 36, 120 by 120, just make sure that those numbers are inserted into here. So essentially what that does is Illustrator will then create a line for every pixel in the artboard, right? So now that that's set, now we can actually go ahead and actually start creating the guides itself. So the first guide is, when it comes to key lines, is that there's 5 steps to creating the guides for icon design. So the first one that we're going to create is essentially called the pixel grids, which essentially is these grids that you see here, which Illustrator has shown us. So if I hide the grids and I show the grids, this is essentially the pixel grids. That's the first type of guides that you have. So I'm not going to draw that because Illustrator's already done that for me. I'm going to go straight into the second one, and the second one is what we call the key shapes. Now these are shapes which you have inside of your icons, which are circles, squares, rectangles, and horizontal rectangles as well, right? Both vertical and horizontal. So let's go ahead and create that. So the first one I want to do is going to create, let's say, the circle. So while holding the shift key, I'm going to go and drag it from the corner. Now bear in mind, obviously you've noticed one thing is instantly that it's not snapping to anything. So let's go ahead and correct that. Go to view and snap to grid. Leave snap to pixels off for now, and then just drag it from the corner while holding shift and let go when it's get to the corner. Now you can see that the shape here, the stroke has actually gone above the actual grid, and we don't like that. So the way to fix that is, let's just remove the fill, and inside the stroke we want our corners to be rounded, our caps to be rounded, and our stroke aligned inside, right? So when we have it inside, you can see then the shape actually goes inside the actual 24 by 24 pixels. So make sure that that's all set. Now that that's set, I'm going to go ahead, and I don't want my pixels to be 1 pixel each. I actually want them to be 0.01, right? Or actually, let's make it maybe 0.05. Yeah, so that you can actually see the actual grids themselves. And I'm actually going to just change the color to blue. There we have it, right? So let's go ahead and adjust this. I want this to be, I want another circle. So I'm going to select the circle, Control C, Control F. Now Control F just basically pastes it in place. I'm going to, while holding the Shift and Alt key, drag it from the corner into the middle. Control C, Control F, do the same thing, and then we have it, right? So this is 3 circle shapes that I want to have as guides. Now the next one we need to do is the rectangle shapes, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click on my rectangle tool. I'm going to click and drag it from the corner to make a perfect square. Now while that square is there, I don't want to make a perfect square because I know the actual shape of my canvas is the perfect square. While holding the Alt key, I'm going to drag in from the corner, and I want it to be about, let's say, 12 pixels wide and 24 pixels height, right? Control C, Control F. I want to do the same thing, but this time the opposite way. So I'm going to hold the Alt key, go back to 24, but this time holding the Alt key from the top, I want to go down from the top and make it 12 pixels by 24. And then the last one, I'm going to select any of the rectangles, Control C, Control F, and this time I want it in between. So I'm going to do 18 pixels by 18 pixels. I'm actually let's go for maybe 20. Yeah, let's go for 20 pixels by 20 pixels, right? So then what that basically does is gives us a nice in between. Let me fix the circle shape because I want the circle to sit inside of the rectangle there. And once that's done, essentially what we have here is our key shapes, right? So I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to Control G to group them, go to the layers, open up my layer panel, and I'm going to call this key shapes. And I'm just going to leave that there for now. So while that's there, click on the rectangle tool and pick up a line select tool. So we're just going to draw a line right down the middle. And while that line is selected, I'm going to hold the Alt and Shift key, click and drag, and put it right in between the first, the left-hand side of the square. So you have 3 squares there, 3 pixels there. We'll do the same on the other side. Just make sure that we drag it so that you have 3 pixels there and 3 pixels there. Now we have that, so we draw another line, but this time we're doing it horizontally. So draw a line straight down the middle, and we'll do the same thing again. So we're just going to hold the Alt and Shift key and drag it so that we move up 3 pixels up and 3 pixels. So we do the same thing for the down one. So then what ultimately you should have is everything should be placed very nicely onto the circles. Now you see that last circle is slightly outside of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to slightly make sure you select that circle. And then we want to make sure that that circle sits inside of the actual bigger square itself as well, right? So once we've done that, next one, so create, which is the masking shape. So select the rectangle tool, and then we create another perfect circle. Now the difference between this circle, this square, I beg your pardon, compared to the other ones, is that this is going to be the masking, right? So we're just going to go to the edge, round it off to about where the corners meet. You can see here where the corners meet, and that's where the actual shape is going to be rounded off in some places where the apps decide to round off the items, right? The next one we need to do is we need to do the masking. So we're going to select that masking tool, same shape again, Control C, Control F. But this time around, what we need to do is we're going to put back the corners. What we need to do this time around is create the safe area. Right, so we're going to increase the stroke, but we want the stroke to be inside, and we want to increase the stroke to the point where I'm going to turn the opacity down. We want to increase the stroke to the point where it actually gives us some good wiggle room, probably about, I would say about there, so about 4 pixels. Actually, let's go for 3 pixels. So anything inside 3 pixels we want to have, and everything outside of it we know it's going to be a safe zone, right? So now that we have that, select everything, group all the items together, and then there you have it essentially, right? So what I can do is go to the layers, select that, and we're going to call this icon grid template. Now I will make this template available in the description down below, so be sure to go ahead and download that if you want, you know, the actual template ready made for you. You're going to set the opacity to about let's say 45, and what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go ahead and actually start designing some really basic icons, right? So the first icon, let's say we are going to create, is the play icon, right? A regular old play icon which you find on like videos and stuff, and I want it to be a circled icon. Now again, you see how the line and the stroke is outward. So this is where we decide to set our rules up. So I want it to be rounded inside. I don't want the strokes to be, I want all my strokes to be 1 pixel wide, and I want them to be black, right? So that's the rule that I'm going to be using from now on. So I'm just going to continue to use so let me go back to view, click on turn on snap to pixel now. So this what will allow us to do is snap to the pixels of the actual grid we've also created. So now I'm going to go ahead and create the play icon. So one there, one there, one there, close that icon. Now, one thing you'll notice is if I turn off the layer you will notice that this play button looks a bit weird. It doesn't actually seem to be in the middle of the actual circle itself. And this is where I always always tell everyone, or all the designers ask me, is that the icon grid itself is a guide. It isn't an absolute. So if you find that you have to move things, move it, right? So in this case, I'm just going to move one arrow shift to the left to put that more into the center, and that's it, right? It's as simple as that. It's a guide. It's not a must rule. And then what you can do now is, I'm going to go to the artboards, zoom out, click on edit artboards, zoom out, click and drag that there, and then now I have a play icon. I'm going to make another icon this time around. Let's say I'm going to make a floppy disk icon, right, or a save icon. So I'm going to go ahead and get my rectangle tool. Now a floppy disk, I want it to be, let's say, I want it to be the same size as that, but I might make it a little bit smaller actually. Yeah, I want to make it that kind of size. Again, just double check, make sure everything is inside. As you can see, everything's not inside. Make sure everything's inside the strokes, otherwise you'll run into problems later on. Now we know that with the floppy disk, it has some corner angles which we will not replicate. So the way I did that is I select the pen tool, I click on it, and I added a new line or a new anchor point onto the line. I'm just going to shift this down maybe about there. I'm going to grab this rectangle tool again. I'm going to drag that out. It's about there. I'm going to shift drag that so that I have another one. But this one I'm going to make a little bit longer. Right? And that's it. There you go. So that's my now save icon. Let's maybe do one more. The next one we're going to do perhaps is going to be, let's say, a dustbin or the recycle bin, right? So I'm going to click on that. Now I want my recycle bin to be, let's say, that tool. And I'm going to select the pen tool. Draw my line out. Stroke. Perfect. There we go. Right? So once we've done that, then we do the next one, which is going to be essentially that there. Actually, I need that to sit. I need that to sit in the middle there. Or maybe let's make it a little bit wider actually. And then I want to do some lines. Now this it's fine to use the actual line tool if I wanted to. I just need to make sure that the caps are actually flat. Select in. Again, just make sure that you're selecting the only ones there. And then essentially if I zoom out and edit the artboard, drag that out, I have my dustbin, right? I'm going to do one more. Now this is a combination of the eye. Well, it's a combination of circles as well as the squares. So I'm just going to select my pen tool and I'm going to go ahead and click on that point. I'm going to click on that point. I'm going to click on that point, that point, that point. So essentially I've created what looks like a rotated circle, right? So I'm going to select this point on the corner here and this point on the corner there. And the reason why I'm doing that is because when you can see if I drag that, it does this weird thing, right? And that's what we want to do. So obviously since the eye is going to be rounded from the top, select both at the top and round them down to about however you want. I can go all the way, but I'm not going to go all the way. I'm just going to probably go about there because I know this is where my eye is going to be, right? And then I'm going to get the rectangle, the circle tool, draw that in. Make sure, make sure again our strokes is inside so that everything is aligned the way we want it to. And literally if I duplicate that now, so if I go to my artboards, drag that down, so this is one eye. If I literally duplicate that now, copy this circle, Control C, Control F, and then just drag it, make it smaller a little bit, drag it to the corner. I want to fill this one with black and I want to fill this one with white. Select both of them together, and inside the pathfinder, if you don't have the pathfinder, just go to Windows, Pathfinder, and I'm going to minus it, right? And what that basically does is it cuts the eye out, right? And then just by looking at that, what we've created now is two versions of the eye, right? One which is visible and one which isn't. And essentially that's how I personally would do it. Now, obviously go ahead and, you can create all your different variations of icons, maybe perhaps make a list before you start working in them. And yeah, that's how I create the icon grid layout and the key lines. Again, I'll put the file in the description for you to download, and hope you've enjoyed it. Be sure to check out our Etsy, where we are selling some of our icons. It would be fantastic to get your feedback and reviews on them. And if you like this video, please sure to hit that like button, subscribe and comment if you can, and turn that notification bell on. And be sure to check out some of our other videos while you're here. And until the next time, I'm Khalid, and I'll see you there. Peace.